What's going on, everybody? I want to talk about creating from a space of negative emotions. I think that this is important because a lot of times what I see and what I hear when people talk about what they want to create, the life that they're trying to, manifest, they talk about it from the positive perspective. They talk about it from the awareness of all of the good things that they believe will come as a result of whatever that thing is that they're trying to manifest, be it person, place, situation, job, whatever the case may be. They don't talk about, it's almost as if they shut out the entire other half of the balance, those days where they're going to be drained, where they're not going to have that energy, those days where they're going to feel annoyed by certain things, those days where people are going to, just get under their skin, where they're going to be disappointed, where they're going to be anxious, where they're going to have to, you know, work extra hard. They don't, it's almost as if you have this utopian view of your ideal, and you only create from that perspective. In addition, those same people will only allow their mind to go to their ideal when they feel those emotions, which means that because we know that every day we're balancing the whole range of emotions. But it means that for every point in time where they're not experiencing those emotions, which, let's be honest, how often are we experiencing those high positive emotions every day? So in all those times that they're not experiencing that, they're actively keeping their mind away from their ideal so as to not impose their negative emotions onto it, distorting their creation. Now, in the first scenario, you need to give whatever it is that you're creating all the tones of reality. That means if you're spending days there, whether it be in meditation or as you're driving, you're going through a scene in your head that is of your wish fulfilled, that implies your wish fulfilled. You don't just play out positive. You can have, you know, arguments, disagreements within your conversation, within your ideal, because you will. Giving it all of the tones of reality means accepting that the balance that you have now, you will also have when your ideal comes to crystallization. It's accepting that the full range of emotions that you filter through now, you will filter through then. Now, you don't have to give yourself some horrid scenario. That's not it as well. But in a day where you feel that emotion, you can put yourself in your ideal and still have the underlying assumptions be that your ideal is true, in addition to other underlying assumptions. And now you're creating by default and just allowing what comes to you to fuel what you create, redirecting the energy, truly being an alchemist. Understand that Source has not tossed out the darkness. We see it all around us. And it's the contrast of light and dark. that creates the balance of everything that is. So when we create, it must be the same. And we can't be so bogged down in the negativity all day either. Just because you can add tones of reality to your ideal via the negative emotion that just naturally comes up through the day, doesn't mean that you have to redirect yourself there. If you're feeling good, create from that good place. Put yourself there. You're feeling somebody, you feel good about an interaction. Feel good about an interaction in your ideal at the end. But just because things are coming up and it's pushing you into a point where you are filtering through some negative emotions, that doesn't mean that you can't escape that place and go to your ideal and create from that emotion and have the underlying assumption of what you're creating be that your ideal is true. So let me give a scenario where you can use negativity to your advantage. Let's say you work in an office space, because I used to work in an office space, and I would do this all the time with an understanding that I wanted to be a business owner. There would be times where I'm performing something that feels like really, really mundane. And I'd put myself at the end and I do it different ways. So I do it in an I remember when way, where I'd have that emotion and I'd be like, okay, I'm there now. I'm whoever it is that I am as CEO of whatever. And I remember when I used to have this emotion when I did this task. And while I'm experiencing that, I'm doing it because my person called out for the day or whatever the case may be. Something happened where I have to perform this. And I'm thinking to myself, I remember when I used to have to do this. And then it's weird because like that thought, putting myself there, thinking about it from that perspective, from the end, is almost like it lifted my emotions. Because it's like, I'm there. And then it's almost like a trick to my mind to make me believe like, oh shit, I'm there. I remember when I used to think about this moment back then when I experienced this emotion. It's like I'm redirecting the meaning of the emotion. So the emotion may have come up because somebody said something or treated me in a certain way, or I don't feel like I got something, or I don't feel like I'm elevated, and or whatever the case may be. There could be so much going on, right? That could lead to that emotion that potentially would have had me stuck in that emotion. I redirect it. I assign it to a new stimuli. And then just by chance, that stimuli happens to raise the vibration. It would make the task a little easier. And understand if those are the thoughts that you have, though, when your world eventually breaks, because it will. A world breaking is a world awakening. And I have a whole video on that. So go ahead and watch that. Because you can't create a certain thing and then be surprised when the door opens for that thing that you were creating to take place. Another example, you go on some type of a trip or something. It could be a road trip, you're flying in a plane or whatever the case may be. This is an easy one. Because on all trips, something inevitably goes wrong. Something inevitably comes up to like test you and see whether or not you're going to go about your day frustrated, go about the trip frustrated, or whether or not you're going to let something go. When you feel that frustration and you're already, the atoms are arranged where you're already in a place of vacation, you're in travel mode, you know, you're in vacation mode, you're in let your hair down mode, whatever the case may be. When that frustration happens, put yourself there at the end in your ideal. Just like something happened now to frustrate you while you're taking your vacation, in your ideal, you'll be taking vacation, you'll be taking trips, you'll be doing those same things, right? It'll just be on a higher vibration. So put yourself there. Instead of being in your trip now, instead of dealing with what you're dealing with now, you're you 25 years down the line. And in this moment, maybe you're waiting in a line somewhere, right? In this moment, instead of being there, you're still waiting in a line somewhere, but you're there having done all of these things. And you remember when you had this same emotion in this same scenario before, and you were thinking about how you would be when this came up. And then in that moment, when it starts to feel real, think about all that's happened between now and then. And then in that point, you're giving your vision the underlying assumption that everything that's happened between now and then is real. And you're on the other side of it. That's thinking from the end and using the negative emotion to do it. Because trust me, every time that you feel that, you're going to do the same thing now. And you can push it further and further out and add more underlying. That's a lot of time. You can add a lot of underlying assumptions to what's happened in between. But first, you got to make it real to yourself. And you can create a whole world, live in two worlds. But understand this, when you're doing this, it's not just those acts that creates it. You need to go out, those underlying assumptions that happen in the gap. Let the train pass. It's a big train. All right, let's take a ride. Those underlying assumptions of what happened in the gap, you need to start, as unrealistic as they be, and they should be wild. They should be out there. They should be outlandish with it. You got to be, you have to really like go all over the map with it, with these underlying assumptions. And don't judge yourself either. Don't judge yourself for anything that comes up in that gap, right? Don't judge yourself. But you got to take action towards it, especially the big things. When the doors start to open for that and you start to think, oh shit, that's something that I created. This could potentially lead to that. When somebody just randomly starts up a conversation with you about it, that's the universe saying yes. That's the universe meeting you halfway. And at that point, you need to have the faith, just the size of a mustard seed, to step forward, to actually take action, to accept that into your reality, no matter how far-fetched it may be, because I promise you this works. I promise you this works. So I hope that you got something from this. Please put your situations down in the comments if you've used something like this, or not, maybe not exactly the way that I describe it, but if you've done something similar and been able to create from that space and been able to transmute emotions real time from that space, I want to hear about it. I love you. I want to see the fullest expression of you. That's why I do what I do. That's why I make these videos. That's why even when I'm feeling down, I choose to transmute my emotions by talking to you. I just want to be a spark.